Alright, so the first thing we need to do is put our new SIM card in. Now, for the Rayhunter project, you do not need an activated SIM card necessarily, and mine is not activated, but it is a valid Verizon SIM card for a valid Verizon Orbic Hotspot. So make sure you get one that is compatible. It doesn't have to be Verizon, just happened to be what I found a good deal on. So the first thing we're going to have to do is actually open this sucker up. So I'll take a fingernail and just go around the outside and just kind of peel this off. Go around it all the way. There we have it. We have it opened up. Next thing, what do I got to do? Well, just pop that battery out, lift from the bottom here. And then we have the SIM card slot, which I'll take a thumbnail and just kind of get under there, flip it up. Now, take our SIM card and note that it even has a picture to show which way it goes. So you see that little corner notch? You want to match it up just like it shows and fit it perfectly in here. You don't want to get these things stuck. Okay, and there we have it. We have it down and locked. So I pulled it down a little bit, and what that does is it locks the latch. Next thing, of course, is to reverse that process and just simply put the battery back in, down firm, and then simply place our lid back on. And now let's get started with this thing. Let's turn it into a Rayhunter. Okay, so what we're doing is we're powering on the Orbic Hotspot, and this is going to be our first step. Of course, we need it to be fully powered on. We have it connected by USB-C cable, a data cable from this to my laptop. Now, at this point, we have... See, okay, we need to download it. So I'm going to go ahead and use wget command. Make sure you get the right one. So taking a look at what kind of hardware I'm running. Well, of course, I need the X64 here. So here's where we're at. So I downloaded the release. I just showed you on video where to find it. Once you download the proper one for your hardware, whether you're running an ARM board, which you can download that one, this one, I am running a computer that is running an Intel processor. So it's a 64-bit, so X64, that's short for 64-bit computer, an AMD or an Intel, you will download this one. Then after that, I downloaded it to my downloads folder, so all I did was move it. You can either copy and paste it from a graphical file display, or you can use the command CP to copy it. Anyway, do whatever you want. You can move into the directory where you downloaded it, and then all you have to do is run the unzip command to open it, and it'll extract all those files for you. And like anyone, I didn't read all the instructions, so I simply copied and pasted what it said. Well, what I need to do is find out the password first. So what I did was I ran the command to the installer. So if you have an Orbic, this is the command you'll run, but you need to make sure you know the password to the Orbic. And I will show you how to find that next. So if you're like me and you didn't have the password on hand for the Orbic Hotspot, here's how you're going to find it. You'll simply go, let's get back to the main menu. So I'll show you this top button. This button's the select button. This is what it looks like when you turn it on. It's going to look just like this. Then you use this top button here, which is your menu button. Then you can go through until you get to the 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi info. Then you hit that middle select button. And when you do that at the bottom there, you'll see the password. So that's how you'll find it. And then you can type it right into that command we were just looking at. And I'm going to show you where I did that. The Wi-Fi info, that's going to give you that password that you're going to need for the command that I just ran to flash it into a Rayhunter, which this was my particular password. Yours may be different, so make sure to check that out in your hotspot device before running the command. As I learned, this is something I didn't want to cut it all out. I cut a lot of things out, but this time I wanted to save it in just so people could see, you know, how to troubleshoot, how to find the Wi-Fi password, which if you go here, this menu button here, let me just show you in case you have any problems. you're going to want to go to the Wi-Fi info. So I don't want to reveal the Wi-Fi name, but as you can see at the bottom, you can see the password. So I don't want to reveal the Wi-Fi name because using things like Wiggle, someone can get an exact GPS location of where I am. And you know what? I just don't feel like giving that out to the entire world. So that's how you'll find it. Use this to change, toggle different things, and this to select them. So remember that. Get that password ready. All you have to do is run installer Orbic and then --admin password. And then in quotes, put your password, especially if it has special characters or anything. Using those single quotes is really going to help you there with shell commands. Now, once you have your Rayhunter set up, you'll have it connected by USB-C to your computer. You can see that green line at the top. That's actually one of the indicators of the Rayhunter. So let's take a look. So once you've done that, once you've hit that installer we just went through together, next thing you're going to want to do is open a web page on the computer connected to your Orbic or other compatible hotspot. This doesn't have to, you can follow this for other devices as well. If you have a TP-Link, you may have to use a different part of the installer command. Take a look at the documentation. But if you have an Orbic or a TP-Link, whatever you have, open your browser on the computer that's connected by USB-C to the actual Orbic or other device, and then just go to 192.168.1.1 here, :8080 to signal the 8080 port, TCP, and that'll take you right to the Rayhunter page that's coming off of your device. And so here we can see it's a current recording. We can see the things that are set up on this system here. And then you have PCAP files here, which is like Wireshark files. And we'll probably take a look at that down the line. Today I just want to do like a little bit of an overview. This is my first time checking it out, so let's see. Doesn't look like I've detected any Stingrays yet, which you could say is a good thing. Means that there likely aren't any in the area. Down here we can also see the different enabled analyzers to detect Stingray. So these are some of the signifiers that you may be in contact with an IMSI catcher or Stingray or Hailstorm, Kingfisher, whatever version they may be using. So if the identity or IMSI or IMEI requested in a suspicious manner, if it sends an identity NAS message without an associated attach request or auth accept request, and then the connection release redirected carrier to a 2G carrier downgrade, just like I covered recently on the Israeli spy trucks that US police are now using. If there is a downgrade attack trying to downgrade you to a much less secure 2G, it's going to see and detect this, and then all these other types of downgraded type of attacks, and then null ciphers. So if it tests whether the cell is using a null cipher or not. So these are just some of the different ways that it can help detect the Stingray. So you have a little bit of behind the scenes information there. Now we can also take a look at the configuration and just see what it shows here. So this subtool colored line mode is this green here. Now if it detects something, that line's going to turn red. So I can go up here and change it over here. I could make it, see what happens, if anything happens. I'll probably have to save the changes, but you could have the EFF logo, as we've seen in many pictures. I'll go with the colored line. Actually, you know what? I'll go with the EFF logo. Device input mode. Disable button control. Let's see what else we got. So here it has Wi-Fi client mode. So you can have it connect the device to an existing Wi-Fi network to help control it. Okay. And then here's the different things that are enabled here for detecting IMSI catchers. So this is something that's noisier. I might test that out later, but I want to start off with just the defaults, just to kind of get a nice clean log file, and just to have like something that's just, I want to get a basis for understanding it at the most simplistic level. So at this point we have all this. Okay, I'll apply and restart this, and there it is. The EFF logo was saved. So anything you save in your configuration and then you hit apply and restart will then reload right into your Rayhunter. And you can report an issue here. You have some documentation over here. Donate over there. Of course, always suggest supporting the Electronic Frontier Foundation. They make cool projects like this, and Privacy Badger and other projects as well. All right, so I think we're pretty good on the first video on the setup. I'm gonna be exploring this. I'm gonna be running this all the time. And so we'll have follow-up videos to talk more about this and anything I learn along the way. So right now, this is my first time really getting my feet wet since I just set it up. Let me know if you have any comments, thoughts, or questions. And have you learned anything cool about the Rayhunter, or have you had any cool experiences detecting anything? Let me know in the comments your experiences. I really, if you have anything you think I should know about it or anything that I may want to change, let me know in the comments. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Thanks, guys, for watching the video. Make sure to share it. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any follow-up videos and other interesting videos. And I will see you guys soon in another video on how to protect your security and privacy.